get this party going, I'm gonna go ahead and cue it up on TikTok. This one is going to be a fairly simple, straightforward question. Certainly, in regards to something I actually heard on social media platform, actually heard it here on TikTok. Not coming from yours truly, but from another social media page, another commentator. Made an interesting phrase. Individual was certainly a Trump supporter, certainly someone who leaned right, saw a more conservative vision, Republican direction for this country. But he made a statement in the comment, or maybe he had a comment statement to someone in the comments that led me to want to bring it to you folks because I want to figure out if you guys see any validity to this. His statement was, in this environment, you are either MAGA or you are a Democrat, actually leaving no room for anyone else of any political affiliation. I want to ask you folks, do you see any validity in this statement that in this political environment, you are either MAGA or you are a Democrat? Because we have to bring up the traditional conservatives, the Mitt Romneys, the Mitch McConnells, the late John McCain types, the Bush family types, the Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney types. Where do they fit in this equation? If the statement is you are either MAGA or you are a Democrat, are we suggesting that the traditional Republican Party no longer exists? That's what we're going to be talking about today because it did leave yours truly baffled. I wanted to come to the folks and see what your take was on such an interesting statement. As always, the program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are always welcome. What do we see on every broadcast? We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So understand if you have a difference of opinion between anyone in the comment section or even yours truly, no one gives a damn. Always about free speech, First Amendment rights here. Looking in the comments, I think the Republican Party left those guys. Well, Sedman, in regards to your suggestion that the Republican Party left those guys, are you saying the party no longer exists? What if you lean right, have no desire for a democratic, liberal progression of this country? That just turns you off completely. You lean right, but you don't favor Trump. Where is your place in current American politics? That's what we're asking. We're going to go straight to the box. I do appreciate you folks tuning in. We'll go straight to MAGA Slayer. Good afternoon, MAGA Slayer. So, you're either MAGA or a Democrat. Do you see any validity to that statement?
I'm thinking you may smoke more marijuana than I do. How do you not remember me?
Wait, repeat that again?
I'm thinking you might smoke more marijuana than I do. How do you not remember me? My name is very distinguishable.
Well, I see MAGA Slayer, so that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I am definitely not a Trump fan.
Okay, well, obviously with a name like MAGA Slayer. But what about the notion that you're either MAGA or you are a Democrat? Do you believe that is the only choices that seem to exist now in American politics?
Oh, it sounds so productive. So no diversity of thought. Brilliant.
Well, let me ask you, if you are the Liz Cheneys, the George Bushes, the McCain family, the Romneys, where is your place in American politics?
Apparently now, nowhere.
So you do submit that you're either MAGA or you're a Democrat.
Yeah, at the moment they're well, no, they're not. They're not privately, but publicly. Oh yeah, they keep their mouths closed because they don't want to get primaried.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't expect any of the folks in the crowd I just named to support Biden, would you?
Actually, I think some of the folks you named do at the moment.
Wow. You think the McCain family or the Bushes, you think they would go with Biden?
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. Undoubted. Those two that you named, absolutely. If John McCain was alive today, You think he would vote for Trump?
Well, you certainly got me on that one. But in regards to the direction that some of them individuals, which you would refer to as traditional Republicans, they don't want the country to go in the direction that Biden is suggesting. So are they just doing it out of hatred for Trump?
Wait a second, repeat that again?
I said, obviously, the folks I just named, the Romneys, the Mitch McConnells, they don't want the country to be led in a direction that President Biden is suggesting. So if they voted for Biden as opposed to Trump, are they just doing it out of hatred for Trump?
No, they believe in traditional government. So yeah, like a Mitt Romney, he would definitely. I have no way of proving this, but he would definitely vote for Biden over Trump.
Well, let me present it to you this way on YouTube, because it's running on YouTube at the same way here. But the bullshifter is saying, because a lot of, obviously Trump's statement is "Make America Great Again." How would you respond when someone suggests, if you are not for Americans first, obviously Trump's America First agenda, then you should go overseas and see how long you last? Because folks are suggesting the liberals are not about America first.
That's just either you follow what your leader says or you're a traitor. That's been a bullshit thing that's echoed throughout American history for a very long time.
So what are you suggesting that when you say dear leader, you're going back into the cult environment?
100%.
So
I mean, when you can't have any kind of diversity of thought, what are you saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But if you look at,
that's a hive mind, that's a cult mind.
Yeah, but if you're suggesting that MAGA is part of a cult, there's not a lot of love from the liberals for president.
Can I throw in the shocker there? But go on.
No, I was gonna say there's not a lot of love from the liberal side of the aisle for Biden. They just don't like Trump. But if you're saying that Trump supporters are part of a cult, then come election day, the Trump side should win, considering they're more devoted to their candidate, right?
No, because they've already split their party, because the regular Republicans, traditional Republicans, have abandoned it. And Pew Research did a survey, and they found out that the Never Trumpers are now voting Democrat.
Wow.
So they've eliminated the Never Trumpers from their party. The independents, they're turning their nose up to what's going on now. So, I mean,
but wait. So you're suggesting the Never Trumpers, even though if I'm a Republican and I lean right, but I'm a Never Trumper, I'm going to have such a disdain towards Trump that I'm going to vote for somebody like Biden that goes completely against my principles?
Well, I don't believe he goes completely against their principles.
What traditional principles, other than democracy maybe, does Biden support?
God forbid, fucking that pesky democracy.
Fair enough. All right, I do got to move it on, but I don't know. So you're saying cult-like. If there's a...
Oh, I'm so shocked. Cult-like. Imagine that. I do have one little thing. I'm a piece of information I'm going to give you. Something that absolutely wonderful that's come out of the meeting with Biden and Xi.
Okay.
China is going to curtail the shipment of drugs that are used to make fentanyl.
Wow, that's a big score. I don't believe you'll get the proper due credit for that, but that's a big score.
That's a biggie.
Wow.
It is.
All right. Fair enough.
Also, they're also going to reestablish our top military personnel on both sides being able to talk. So when we're having when there's questionable things going on, like China's doing a flyby of something and yada yada yada, that way we can have sureties that you guys aren't up to nothing, are you? No, we're just flying by. It looks good for our folks.
All right, gotta move it on. Appreciate you coming through.
Good one.
Absolute. So that's what we're asking, though. And by the way, what my last caller was stating there, That would be a big accomplishment from President Biden. I'm going to say what could be controversial or certainly not very favorable to some of my beloved MAGA viewers. But I do strongly believe if you look at Biden's record on paper, and if you took about 20, 30 years off of his age, I believe his rating in America would be a little bit higher. I think that obviously a lot of liberals are not big Biden fans because of his age. And obviously on the right, you're not going to like Biden because of any of his policies or the direction he is leaning the country towards. But age hurts him significantly, at least among his own supporters. Looking in the comments, Mental Liberal asks, why would anyone not like Trump? Yikes. You can't think of a single reason. You think Trump, Biden, Clinton, Obama, you think there is any human being on earth? Hell, even your damn wife, you can come up with at least one reason that she might not be worthy of liking. You think there's anyone on earth that you can't come up with one reason? There were people who didn't like Jesus. So where do you come up with the notion that there is not a single reason not to like Trump? Talk about elevating a human being to the level of perfection. Looking in the comments, hater with blue eyes. Love that name. That could be something out of a James Bond film. Says both parties hate you. I'm assuming referring to yours truly. There is a bit of validity to that. I tend to be fairly moderate, somewhat in the middle of the aisle. So the liberals don't believe I'm a genuine liberals, and folks on the right believe I'm a Trump hater. So you're probably right about that. Moving on, looking in the comments. Ask the 5 guys from New York if they like Trump, says the fly insurance guy. I'm assuming you're talking about the Central Park 5 and not someone selling hamburgers for a living. Yeah, I'm assuming that Central Park 5 would not be fans of Trump. I can think of 100 reasons to hate a literal felon, says Emily. Well, in regards to President Trump, and I'll go back to the box, I do appreciate you folks tapping the screen on TikTok. Get your boy up to around 15,000 likes. You got a smaller audience, a little bit less than 300 of you in here, but it helps out the algorithm. Perhaps it can correct that number. So I appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Let your thumbs not be lazy. 100 reasons to hate Trump, referring to him as a literal felon. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. So until Trump has his due process, his day in court, and actually is convicted of a felony, he's not a literal felon just yet. Going back to the box, Uncle Lucas. There is only 2 types of voting constituents. You're either MAGA or a Democrat. I heard that said. I wanted to come talk to the folks. Lucas, what say you?
You know, it's crazy. I feel like we're going down this path of fascism. You know, this is the type of stuff that, you know, the mustache man used to talk about.
I'll let you continue. But in regards to suggesting we're going down the path towards fascism, for us on the left, they're calling us Marxists, socialists, and communists. Does anybody know what the actual path we're headed towards is?
Well, I think fascism is when you put all of the power in where it's like hyper nationalism, where we put all of the power and all of our trust into one dear leader, where he's the only one who can solve all of our problems, whether it be the mustache man, Mussolini, whoever. They can solve the economic problems. And what you also see with fascism is they demonize people. They also take people and, you know, you have to dehumanize them before you do something pretty horrific or tragic.
Yeah, but I get that point. And Mike the Sailor, thank you for that, Mike. Appreciate that generosity, Mike the Sailor. But when you say they demonize them, I mean, President Biden back in 2012 suggested that if you vote for the Republicans, in reference to Mitt Romney, said they was going to put y'all back in chains. I mean, you can get dehumanization on both sides, right?
Well, I guess is there a difference between being hyperbolic, you know, being alarmist versus calling people scum, saying that we need to arrest these people, they need to leave this country by any means necessary. I think there's differences between, I think all politicians can be a little hyperbolic sometimes. They can be a little alarmist, but when you start talking about using the state as your arm of enforcing your rule of
Right.
law, that's going down a dark path, don't you? Have you ever read Project 2025?
I've been hearing, so I've started looking in some of it. It is dark. To me, it sounds like it sounds like the liberal version of blaming George Soros and Bill Gates for everything. It sounds like that. It's dark. Yeah, I have started looking into that.
Yeah, it's dark, and it's like it's a pathway when let's say President Trump gets elected, he can go ahead and get rid of the administrative state or get rid of all of the people in the government and bureaucracy who are stopping us from having an authoritative.
But
the president has a lot of power.
That is true, but let me ask you that. I guess to some, do you genuinely believe if we get a second coming of President Trump, he is going to try to turn America into a dictatorship? Do you believe that is genuinely his goal?
You got to look at what he does, and you got to look at what he says. He honestly has talked about suspending the Constitution, using his DOJ to go after people who he suspects are haven't been loyal to him. So he wants to go after Bill Barr. He wants to go after Joe Biden with his DOJ. And I guess it doesn't matter if you convict someone, but if you can use the DOJ to charge people with things, even if it doesn't, they don't get convicted. Honestly, isn't that an abuse of power, right?
Well, it certainly on its face sounds like someone attempting to abuse power, but do you believe if Trump was to become president, our government organizations, the military, do you believe they would even go for that? Do you believe they would follow those type of orders? Remember General Milley contacted his counterpart in China?
That's the problem. There won't be any more General Millies. There won't be any General Mattises. There won't be, Project 2025, what it really talks about is how to get rid of those key positions and put in the political appointees who will do whatever you want them to say, the John Eastmans, the people who won't ask questions, who will bend the Constitution to whatever you say. And they also, what they believe in is, have you heard of the Unitarian Executive?
No, I have not.
So basically, it's that the executive branch has all power. It's kind of what Richard Nixon.
Yes, I have heard of that. Yes, now that you're stating it, I have. But what about how do you respond to folks? Yeah, but how do you respond to folks that are suggesting exactly what you're saying Trump is going to do to his opposition? Many believe Biden is doing that right now to Trump.
He honestly isn't. You look at the whole student loan debacle. He promised student loan relief, and then the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do this. He didn't just go ahead and just do it. He didn't just say, you know what, I'm the president, I'm just going to relieve it. And you know what, I don't care about the courts. They don't have an army. What are they going to say? But when you truly believe in a unitary executive, when the Supreme Court issues a ruling saying, hey, President Trump, you can't just deport 12 million people without due process, and he says, you know what, I'm going to ignore the courts. I don't care. The courts don't have armies. The courts don't have guns.
Yeah.
How are they going to stop them?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that could be.
He had a lot of people in his last administration who kept him in check, whether it be White House counsel or even Bill Barr. As much as I don't like him, he kept him in check. He said, "Sir, we can't do this." And without those people in power, Trump doesn't care. Honestly.
So what you're suggesting, he's going to surround himself with a bunch of yes men. How do you respond though when we talk about the mass deportation that you rightfully point out that Trump has talked about? How do you respond to a lot of voters and concerned Americans that say, "Hey, look, these people are here illegally. They're not in the country legally. Maybe they should be put out."
Oh, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter because we believe in the rule of law. We believe in the Constitution. And what I'm seeing a lot on the right is we believe in the Constitution as long as it's convenient. So we believe in birthright citizenship as long as it's not inconvenient. So the 14th Amendment says, citizens who were born in America have birthright citizenship.
My guess is, in regards to that 14th Amendment you mentioned, my guess is there may be somebody trying to change that amendment in the near future.
Yeah, and that's another problem. It's not just easy to change the Constitution if you
No,
want to.
it's not.
You can say you want to change the Constitution, but we honestly, the Women's Rights Amendment never passed because it's, it takes take 2/3 of the House and the Senate, and then approved by the president, and then it has to be approved by 2/3 of the legislature or legislature.
Some would say an act of God. Yeah, some would say an act of God.
It's hard. So I don't think there. So what happens when a president disregards the Constitution? Like honestly, who could if the courts didn't have power? If the president doesn't respect the courts and doesn't respect the legislature, and he has people around him who don't respect any of those institutions, who's going to stop him? Honestly,
you paint him out to be a dangerous man. Yikes! I do got to move it on, though, Lucas. You're scaring the hell out of me. You're scaring the hell out of me.
All right, man, take it easy.
Absolute good talk. Moving on real quick, and that's what we're asking. It just simply coming to the folks because I had a conversation. Someone stated earlier to me that as a voting constituent nowadays, you are either MAGA or you're Democrat. If you're not MAGA, and this was a Trump supporter that stated this, if you're not MAGA, then you're a Democrat. I want to ask, do you see any validity to that at all? Now, in the comments, Jacob Ferguson said, you should be scared. Wow. Really? Wow. Real quick, Bullshifter on YouTube. Program is running on YouTube simultaneously under the Handsome Liberal same page. Student loan relief, shaking my head. You signed a contract for those loans just like a car loan, house loan, a whatever loan, and you agreed to pay it back. That is true. That is true. But sometimes people make mistakes. Are you saying our environment should be so rigid that no one should be allowed any relief if they make a mistake or do something wrong? No such thing as a mistake. Once you do something, you do something. I mean, did we not bail out the banks during the late Bush administration or in the Obama administration? We didn't tell them, you sign this, you should have to do it. Hell, the issue I guess I would push back is America itself. If you want to talk about honoring contracts that you signed, America itself is the last place that should ever bring that up. The entire term Indian giver was created because America made so many agreements with the Native Americans and broke them. Obviously, we saw President Trump break the Iran contract, talked about getting out of Paris Accord, getting out of NATO, breaking up NAFTA. So what the hell when we suggest that you signed an agreement, you should honor the terms? Did we not tell the Iraqi people to rise up against Saddam Hussein and we wouldn't leave them hanging like we absolutely did? Having to return back nearly a decade later under the guise that he's killing his own people, the ones we told to rise up against him under the belief that we would help them. So the idea that you signed an agreement, you should honor the terms. Talk about throwing big-ass stones while living in a glass house. Looking in the comment section, that's right. We are just practicing what our government has been doing for centuries. Not to mention how many folks are contributing to Social Security under the guise that it will actually be there when they reach their age of retirement. Don't sign contracts unless you're going to honor them. Coming from America. Let's take a moment out to all take a chuckle and a little bit of laughter. All right, going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. Daniel, I cannot pronounce that, but we're asking that question. You're either MAGA or you're a Democrat. Do you see that as the current environment in politics? Daniel, good afternoon.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
No, I don't think. I don't think if you're not MAGA, you're not a Democrat. Because I know there's a lot of conservatives that they trying to distance themselves from being MAGA. Like people who are trying to have support for Nikki Haley or DeSantis, they don't voters like people who support them. They don't consider themselves MAGA or anything like that. So I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, but real quick, you got a really loud background, so I just want to point that out. I can barely hear you, but the question I'm asking is, let's say what you're saying is valid, where you don't have to be MAGA or liberal. If you are a traditional conservative, do you have any support in the Republican Party right now? Okay, I'm about to move it on. Apparently my last guest is, I don't know what's going on. My last guest had a lot of background noise, so I'll keep it moving. Why is student loan debt the only type of debt that cannot be discharged via bankruptcy? It's not. It's not the only debt that cannot be discharged via bankruptcy. Hell, I'm from the city of Chicago. You can't even discharge parking, moving violations, and government fines via bankruptcy. And I know because I filed bankruptcy before. Freaking tickets follow you forever. So there's a lot of other debt you cannot discharge in bankruptcy. If President Trump is ordered to pay more by the Letitia James case he's dealing with in New York than he actually has. Now, we're assuming Trump has more than $250 million at his disposal because he started out by stating he's a billionaire. But if that is not true, and he's ordered to pay more money to the city and state of New York than he has, he can't discharge that with bankruptcy. I don't believe you can discharge some tax debts to the IRS through bankruptcy. So there's a lot. You can't discharge child support, alimony, a lot of things you cannot discharge in bankruptcy. Looking in the comment section though, can't discharge mortgages either. Yeah, that would be crazy if I could go out and purchase a house. I'm living in the crib and then discharge the mortgage in bankruptcy. So all I got to do is go file bankruptcy and get a free house out of it. Yeah, you certainly can't do that. In the comment section, Jacob Rothschild says he will appeal. Yeah, there's no denying that President Trump is going to repeal any guilty verdict that comes down the pipe. But when they are considering your appeal, they're considering it based on, did it look like there was something out there? Maybe he didn't get a fair trial or some evidence that's been presented where it actually may change the outcome of the case. I don't believe Trump will do very well in appeal. I just don't. And then I believe he'll try to take it to the highest court available. However, as opposed to trying to appeal and emerge victorious in any of his cases, many believe that the goal of Trump is not to win those cases, but to simply delay the clock until he can become perhaps commander-in-chief and then interfere with those cases, maybe throw them out, maybe play musical chairs with the government of who's running those cases or whatever. But his ultimate goal is not to emerge victorious, but to actually stop those cases against him. And then, of course, in regards to federal cases, it does appear as if he can pardon himself. So that's the goal, is to become commander-in-chief, and then it won't matter what the ruling of those federal cases are. I believe that's what the goal is. And in the comments, Big Mac 50 says, never gonna happen. There's no way to know. Trump still is very competitive in the polls against President Biden. Nikki Haley seems to be trouncing Biden, but that's a different conversation. So we're going back to the box and asking that question. There's only two types of voting constituents you can be. You're either MAGA or you're a Democrat. I was told that by a Trump supporter. In other words, if you're not MAGA, we view all of you guys as liberals. And I'm going to, before going to the box, say that my observation, my personal analysis of that is it does seem to be valid to some degree, because think about it. All of the folks that are either critical of President Trump or now taking plea deals and flipping on President Trump are indeed being called rhinos, treasonous, and liberals. Many of them ran as a Republican their entire lives. I've heard folks say that Mike Pence is a liberal. Chris Christie is a liberal. So the idea that you're either MAGA or a liberal coming from MAGA It does sound familiar, at least to yours truly. But what say you folks? Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with, I don't know, as it says, move. Well, hang on a second. I clicked on something there. My box is acting weird. Let's try it again. Why all or nothing? Hang on a second, Javon. George Howard, in regards to that question, why all or nothing? Because folks believe Trump has the best direction for America. They don't believe any of those other 6 or 7 candidates with Tim Scott just dropping out. They don't believe those folks know what the hell they're doing. They either want Trump or nothing at all. So that's why. Javon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, good to have you on. So what do you think, MAGA or you're a liberal? You see any daylight in that?
There's some validity to it, but I also kind of view it right now. I wouldn't say this is a one-to-one comparison, but similarly to the Bull Moose Party, in the sense that I feel like there's an inside split within the party. It's obviously the Trump camp is a lot larger. But and even with, like, if you look at Congress lately with the House of Representatives, they're even having a hard time agreeing on who they want to represent them. They clearly have differing opinions within the party, a lot more so than I'd say the Democratic Party. It's almost like there's 2 separate parties within the party currently.
And that is Republicans and MAGA.
Yes, I would definitely say so. There's definitely people who are a lot farther right on the aisle currently, and I think that's why they're having a lot of issues even amongst themselves getting things done.
Well, based on what you're saying, with the Republican Party being so divided between traditional conservatives and MAGA, can they win come this time next year?
I think it's possible, but I definitely think it's going to be difficult because, I mean, same thing with the last election that Trump went through. He had a lot of Republicans that voted Democrat simply because they can't support the MAGA side.
Well, let me rephrase that. As opposed to saying can they win, let's assume Trump is victorious come next November. With the party being so divided, as opposed to can they win, can they properly govern if they are not united?
So I think some of the people that are kind of going against the Trump camp currently, if he gets elected, they'll flip back to stick with the president of their party. But how many will flip back? Will that be enough? I'm not sure. But again, because it's not, especially around election time, if you vote against the majority of your party, it's hard to get elected, and a lot of politicians know that.
So do you believe the conservatives themselves, traditional Republicans, do they even see the division? Because in the comments, Nathan says, we are not divided. We are united. Trump 2024. Why do you believe somebody on the right would say that as opposed to what we're talking about? We're seeing division, and we have someone on the right saying there's no division at all. Trump 2024.
And like I said before, I think it's weird to not even be able to see that because we saw how hard the party struggled to even elect a representative. If you guys can't even agree on who represents you, then I feel like there's obviously some division. And I would say the MAGA camp is probably the large majority, but I'd say at least a good 20% of conservatives aren't really rocking with the MAGA camp.
What percentage are never Trumpers, though? Because you mentioned earlier in the conversation that if Trump is put back in power, a lot of the folks who may have not been a big fan of Trump will come back around and support their leader. What percentage is never Trumpers, meaning that even if Trump wins, they're not going to roll with him?
See, now that I feel like it would be kind of difficult to see until Trump got elected. But based off of the January 6th, I mean, we saw not a substantial amount, but I think it was, about 7 Republicans, Mitt Romney, that camp, that just went hard against him. So I think there will be a few of those holdouts. I think it'll make an impact in the Senate, but I don't think there will be, because the Senate's so close, but I don't think there will be enough inside of the House of Representatives to make an impact there.
Yeah, you know the weird,
it's probably only in the 5% range.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty low as well, because if you really think about it, most of the folks that believed Trump was responsible for January 6th, most of them are out of politics or retiring, or they've lost their jobs, like Liz Cheney. Mitt Romney's leaving. I mean, most of those folks, Adam Kinzinger's no longer around. I don't know if there are really any current Republicans in Washington that are openly critical of Trump and still, still have a pretty good respectability among Republicans.
And I think any of them that are critical, like I said, a lot of them are going to flip back. I mean, like we saw Lindsey Graham before Trump got elected, trash
Yeah,
down the
yeah.
waves.
Ted Cruz too.
He flipped quick.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, I believe Marco Rubio, they were all heavily critical of President Trump. But the moment he became the leader, and they pretty much knew the party was behind him, they all changed their tune.
And so I think in the Senate, it depends on how the Senate elections go, because again, it's a 50-50 split right now. So if there's even one holdout, it'll definitely impact how things operate in the Senate. But the House of Representatives, they have such a wide majority that I could see maybe 5 or 6 holdouts, but that's not really going to have an impact in the grand scheme of the House of Representatives.
Fair enough. So at the end of the day, with the liberal Saturday out, not necessarily favoring Biden that much, do you think there's a real chance we could have Trump as the 47th president?
I definitely do think there is a real chance that Trump could be reelected. I also do think there's a real chance that he could lose the election. I think it's really going to depend on how many people are never Trumpers. And I think the Republican Party is going to have a hard time. We've seen with abortion rights issues.
Yeah.
If Democrats can campaign on that enough, a lot of Republicans in Republican states are voting for people that support abortion rights. And if Trump doesn't get behind that, whether you agree with it or not, I think that'll give him a hard time.
Well, so then I have to ask you the obvious result. If Trump doesn't win, we already know what the direction Trump is going to take, and I want to present that to you. By the way, folks, tap the screen. 500 plus of you in there. I do appreciate that. You could be anywhere you want to be on this app. Always an honor having you here with me. Get your boy up to around 25,000. I do appreciate you tapping the screen. What I was going to ask Javon is, if Trump does not win, similar to 2020, do you believe he would try to suggest that the election was stolen again? And would the Trump supporters perhaps act the same way on January 6th, but with more skill and tact?
I could definitely see that happening again. I could definitely see a January 6th like event happening again. Do I think it would be substantial enough for Trump to actually seize some sort of power without winning the election? No, but I mean, I could definitely see people taking to the streets. Again, not a large percent of the population similar to January 6th, but I think it definitely would be in Trump's best interest too to get people riled up.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you see Trump as somebody who has the mindset of, I want to win or let every damn thing burn? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying. If I don't win, burn it all down.
So I don't even necessarily think that would be Trump's motivation. I've noticed, well, and one thing that I always come back to in my mind is the amount of money he makes during these controversies. I mean, think about how much his MAGA merch sales are going up. He's making billions. When you get people riled up, they buy more flags, they buy more hats, they donate to your legal fund. And then, like, when he was getting sued, or when he was suing places for those election results, he got hundreds of millions of dollars in donations and only ended up spending, I think it was like $8 million.
I don't know. You think currently right now in this environment, 91 charges, 4 indictments, you think he's profiting financially right now?
I genuinely do believe so. I mean, he's got 80 million Americans financially backing him in some sort of way. I mean, you gotta account for, like in my local town during his last election, some dude bought 20 MAGA flags and put them in his yard. I mean, that's money straight into Trump's pocket. He's definitely profiting off of this.
All right, fair enough. And there are a significant amount of Trump flags. I haven't seen a Biden flag other than on social media. I haven't seen one. Even when I go to Chicago, I don't see any Biden equipment at all. That's amazing. Go ahead.
Back to like, I mean, if you go back to like the Obama and McCain or Obama and Romney, I mean, they were not selling. I mean, they were selling some T-shirts and hats, but to this extent,
not even close.
No.
Right? Yeah, I think there was actually probably more Trump stuff than there even was Obama stuff. And I had an Obama T-shirt, but I think because a lot of the Obama shit was bootleg too. Let's be clear. But I do believe, I believe Trump supporters are pretty passionate, fairly devoted. Javon, appreciate you coming through. Our first time talking.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. I'll try to come back.
Absolutely. My door is always open to you. Looking in the comments, and I see Furback 317 made an excellent comment stating flags do not vote. That is absolutely true. However, it is some sort of a gauge on how devoted folks are to the candidate, but you are correct. However, I don't really imagine someone of voting age having the notion to go out and purchase Trump memorabilia, whatever you want to call it, flags, shirts, hats, and not voting for Trump. I think that probably the overwhelming majority of folks that purchase Trump gear probably are voting for Trump. And I don't want no one asking questions because I did purchase some Trump gear. But I do believe that most folks who purchase Trump gear probably are going to show up to vote. I just believe it that way. Looking in the comments, BLM endorsed Trump. Look it up. I'll go to the box in a minute. I appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Get your boy up to around 25,000. We're getting close to 700 of you folks in here. The notion that Black Lives Matter is endorsing Trump. First of all, it's difficult to suggest who Black Lives Matter endorses because it's a fringe operation. Anyone can identify as Black Lives Matter. There's no member carrying card. There's no type of, it's not an organized organization. It's like being being in a gang or something like that. Anybody can do that. Anybody can identify as a member of Black Lives Matter. So when someone tells you that I'm Black Lives Matter and I endorse President Trump for the 47th president, how can you even be certain they're Black Lives Matter? There's no way to prove that. Looking in the comments, an ideology, exactly. It just like with Israel trying to get rid of Hamas. Any Palestinian can become a member of Hamas. Just like when we were trying to get rid of ISIS. Anybody can be a member of ISIS. It's almost impossible to get rid of that. Anybody can do that overnight. Looking in the comments, Dita Ramsey says, you mean David Duke, among others. If Biden got 5 real votes, I would find it hard to believe. First of all, that's ridiculous because you got to think about what Trump stands for versus what Biden stands for. I can give you a host of legitimate reasons to vote for Trump. Even if you're black, I can give you a ton of reasons to vote for Trump. I can give you a ton of reasons to vote for Biden. So the idea that nobody's going to vote for Biden and Trump, the direction Trump is leading America in, country of 330 million people, everyone wants to go in Trump's direction. No, that's ridiculous. Going to the box. Truth is irony. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. You're either MAGA or you're a Democrat. How do you view that, Truth?
No, I totally disagree with that. Let me just say, there's really 3 types of people that vote these days.
Give me the 3.
You have MAGA. You have MAGA. You have liberals, and you have independents.
Oh. MAGA
is like the kids that ride the short yellow bus. That's MAGA.
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that MAGA has some type of mental deficiency? Rod, thank you, Rod.
Absolutely.
Explain. What kind of mental deficiency?
MAGA, listen. In order to forgive Donald Trump for all of the things that he's done to this country, to the people, all of the sideways things that he said, all of the things that you just simply as a normal, rational human being cannot defend, there has to be something wrong with you.
Wow.
There's a mental defect.
Wow. What has Trump perpetrated upon America, in your opinion, that cannot be defended?
All right, I'll give you the best example. January 6th, for 3 hours, while the Capitol was being attacked, he did nothing. He didn't make any calls, and I don't care if people say, well, it was Nancy Pelosi's duty, or it was nasty, or he didn't have the power. That's nonsense. Let me give you an analogy. If those people were definitely Trump supporters, because when he did go on TV and tell them to stop, everything stopped immediately. So if you tell your kid, hey, I'm gonna let you play, don't go in the street. Or you know, like what Trump said, I want you to protest, but protest peacefully. You tell a kid, don't go in the street, and the kid runs in the street. Do you go and get the kid out of the street, or do you let him play in the street till he gets hit by a car?
That really simplifies it. Okay, all right, you make a point. You make a point.
So how do you say, yeah, I told him to protest peacefully, but you do nothing when they're breaking windows? When you see it on television, they're breaking windows. They're smashing down barriers. A police officer being assaulted. You're back to blue until your people start attacking the blue. Then it's, well, we don't care about the blue anymore.
So let me ask you,
you have to be mentally challenged at this point to still support Donald Trump. He's got 91 charges, 4 indictments, and these 91 charges are felonies. The FBI, the DOJ, has something like a 90-some% rate of conviction.
But wait a minute. What about the notion that the only reason the FBI is trying to charge this guy is because they don't want him back in office, and it's to some degree just to prevent him from having another chance at leading the country in the direction that he desires? That's what folks are saying.
Nonsense. I know, but it's nonsense, because even if they wanted to do that, if he didn't commit crimes, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We saw the boxes we saw the pictures of the boxes in the bathrooms and in the ballroom.
Yeah, but you know, truth. The counterpoint is going to be Biden had boxes. Mike Pence had boxes. Why is Trump in court dealing with felony charges when both Mike Pence and particularly President Biden had his documents since the 70s? I got to push back and ask that question. Why is...
No, I get it. But if you actually do the research and follow up on, and if you ask that question, then you got to do the research and follow up on it. Biden and Pence voluntarily gave their documents back.
But I have to ask this. Okay, wait a minute, though. You said Biden and Pence gave their documents back. Here's the question. Right. If Trump wasn't being charged with possession of those documents, do you think Biden and Pence would have went looking through their stuff and saying, here you go? Or would it still be in their possession today?
I don't know, but that really doesn't matter, because when they did, they gave them back. The point is, he had defense level, documents that could potentially harm the United States in his possession, and he refused to give them back. He had several opportunities to do so, and he refused to have them. And he cites the Presidential Records Act, which is the exact thing that convicts him, because once you stop being president, you are no longer entitled to those documents. They become the property of but then if the statement you're making, it does to some degree convict both Mike Pence, particularly Mike Pence, because he's just a current citizen right now, but it also would convict Biden because he kept documents, but he was not president, certainly, or not vice president during Trump's time, yet he had these documents in his possession. If Trump was not running for the nation's highest office, do you believe they would still be trying to put him in jail for having possession of those documents? He's not being charged with possession. He's charged with obstruction of justice for not giving them back.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not giving them back. If he had just gave them back, he wouldn't be charged with that part of his criminal activity.
Yeah.
It's because he refused to give them back. That's why he's charged.
Wow.
And on top of that, not only did he not give them back, but he thought it was okay to show them to people.
Yeah, Kid Rock.
Thought it was okay.
Yeah, Kid Rock brought that up.
That's the evidence that they have against him. So yeah, Biden had documents he should not have. So did Pence.
But are they getting a
They gave it
pass?
back voluntarily.
But wait a minute. I agree with you. Trump pushed and did not want to get the documents back, and Biden and Pence did. However,
Right.
if you or I go out and rob a bank and we got the money stolen and hid away somewhere, and the cops ask for the money back, and you give the money back and I don't, does that mean you don't get charged? After all, you still stole something. You still have something in your possession that's a crime to have.
Okay, so when you talk about robbing a bank, that's something that you intentionally did. They can prove that you intentionally robbed the bank. They probably have you on video going in the bank with a gun or a note or whatever you use to rob the bank. That's how you get charged.
Wait a minute. But that's not maybe I gave a bad example. The point I'm making is if it's a crime to have the documents, voluntarily handing them over after a few decades, that erases the crime? Is that what we're saying?
Well, here's the reason why I don't think that they would have a reasonable case against Biden or Pence. The National Archives weren't even asking them for the documents. If they didn't say anything.
Okay, my caller's on mute. I'll give you a second. Look it in the comments. Intent is the charge. Yeah, I'm not denying that. Irony, are you back? Okay, apparently something's going on with his equipment. We'll keep it moving. I did give him a sec. Of course not. They only wanted what Trump had, says Kim Kelly. So you're suggesting that they're singling Trump out. We'll see how that plays out in court. Is there anybody that believes he's going to emerge victorious against Jack Smith? I gotta say it's not looking right. It's not looking good. And the biggest stumbling block, in addition to what my last caller pointed out in regards to the Fed's successful conviction rate, is the sheer number of Trump appointees and members of his inner circle that's testifying against him. Now, I understand, my beloved MAGA, folks who support President Trump, there is no one that can testify against Trump that you believe has credibility. Anyone that flips and testifies against Trump was bought out. They were in it, for the take. They're trying to write a book or something like that. But I don't know if an average jury is going to think that way. These are people in your inner circle that you brought in. Many of them you were bragging about how great and skillful they were. Now they are testifying against you, giving actual details of crimes you committed, and suddenly, well, they're just trying to write a book. They're just trying to make money. I don't know if a jury is going to dismiss the sheer number of these people. Maybe if it was one person, but there are dozens of them flipping all over the damn place. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work. Looking in the comments, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Only a few of you guys have been showing love today. I don't know. Maybe the program ain't running right. Got 700 plus of you in here and only 21,000. What the hell's up with the thumbs in here? We try to deliver decent content. And by the way, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host blocking, banning, or censoring you, you're in the right place. Follow the program. We're here Monday through Friday. MAGA are my preferred guests, but liberals are always welcome. The documents were located in a non-secured area where Hunter lived. Really, and Trump is in trouble. And that is a pushback. But here's what is not likely to work for Trump, even if what you're saying, Castillo, is true. Let's assume that, folks have done what Trump has done and they're not being charged with it. I would submit to you there is not a single crime you could commit as an American, whether it's speeding or committing multiple counts of homicide. There is nothing you can do that someone else has not done before you and either got away with it or was not charged. Point I'm making is it will never help at your trial to bring up somebody else that did this and got away with it. They're not there to litigate that. Snitching on somebody else, that doesn't work. I don't know if that has ever worked in a case. Well, I'm going to bring up the fact that my boy broke into Target and stole a few TVs. Why didn't you charge him with it? I don't think that'll ever work. And that is what's coming up constantly with President Trump. Not that he's innocent, but that someone else did the same thing and got away with it. I don't believe that's going to help him out, but nevertheless, we'll see. Going back to the box, Moo the Tuxedo Cat. Appreciate you holding on. You're either MAGA or you're a liberal. That's what I'm hearing. What say you, Moo? Good afternoon.
So what I can tell you about that is, I mean, you have Joe Manchin trying to make a silly little party right now for the moderates. I mean, people can go jump over there.
Is there any love? Is there any love at all for Joe Manchin? He'll be the liberal version of Tim Scott. Where does he fit in? What is that?
It's just it's him trying to be president, man. You know, he screwed everybody over as a senator for a while, and now he wants to screw everybody over as president. That's what that is.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what would he use as a running mate? Folks, for a moment, was saying he was flirting with using Mitt Romney.
I would believe that because they're very similar, those two, right? They're both corporatists. They're both venture capitalists. And Mansions have balls deep in like coal mine ownership and things like that. So yeah, they're very similar people.
Yeah, but is there any path for them to, I mean, let's say the goal was to get 30% of the vote. Do you think they could reasonably even get that?
No, I don't think that's going anywhere. I don't think he has a snowball's chance in hell, to be honest with you. I think RFK will do better.
Yeah. In fact, he is doing better. But in regards to Joe Manchin running, who do you, out of the liberals and Democrats, who do you believe he would siphon more votes from?
Oh, he's a Republican, my dude. That's the only reason he's he runs as a Democrat, but he's actually a Republican, man. No Democrat in West Virginia is ever going to get elected. I mean, it's West Virginia.
But he's running as president, though. He's not running for West Virginia.
Yeah, he'll run as a Republican, I'm sure. I mean, I would be shocked if the Democrats even let him run on their ticket.
I would see Joe Manchin, because you said he's a Republican. I would see him about as much of being a Republican as Mitt Romney is as a liberal. Do you see Mitt Romney being a liberal?
Well, they're like the same person, my dude. So Joe Manchin is the type of Republican you used to have before Trump came along, right? He's like a George Bush Sr. type, that kind of thing.
I don't know. Some might argue that Joe Manchin is the type of Democrat you had before Biden came along.
Biden is exactly the same as Manchin.
What?
No different. Yeah, they're no different. Why do you think Biden caved so easily to what Manchin wanted? He's like, oh, yeah, sure, man. You know what? I like that idea. Yeah, let me give up a lot of my college debt relief here for you, and I'll give up all these things for you, and I'll make all these concessions because you know what? I didn't really want them anyway because I'm a corporatist too. So I'm happy to give you those concessions, Joe. Joe and Joe, they're the same guy.
So if you see Joe Biden and Joe Manchin, as you just stated, quote unquote, being the same guy, why did our conversation start off with you saying Joe Manchin is a Republican? You think Biden is a Republican?
Well, Biden is a moderate Republican, my dude.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's not a liberal. So what liberal policy has Joe Biden done? I'll wait.
He tried to promote the George Floyd Act. He's in favor of tuition forgiveness.
So wait. So not being racist is specifically Democratic? Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So okay, Democrats are the only ones who aren't racist. All right.
Quit fucking with me, Moon. Quit fucking with me. No, but seriously, you see Joe Biden as more Republican than Democrat.
Yeah, my dude. What Democrat do you know that owns a damn coal mine?
So then I have to ask the obvious question. What the hell was Obama thinking appointing Biden as his vice president if you're saying the man was a Republican?
So Obama is barely liberal, my dude. His healthcare plan is a Republican plan. There hasn't been a true progressive liberal since FDR. They don't exist anymore. Clinton took care of that. Clinton started the corporatist movement in the Democrat Party, and then it all went downhill from there.
Moo, I think the issue is you are so far to the left that unless we put Bernie Sanders in there, everybody else is a damn Republican. That's what I believe.
No. Bernie's too old at this point, right? I'm looking at a Katie Porter. I'm looking at an AOC. I'm looking at Nina Turner.
But you're making my
even
point.
Sherrod
Yeah,
Brown.
but you're making my point that you're so far to the left that virtually anybody else that's not that far in the progressive category, you can.
I mean, I guess, dude, if you think that having healthcare for everybody is so far radical to the left, if you really think that having a good social security age with expanding benefits is so radically far to the left, I don't think that's far to the left at all. I think those are very popular ideas that would do very well if anybody ran on them.
Well, Obama ran on giving everybody health care and it didn't do very well. I don't know about that.
And he used the Republican plan to do it. He didn't even make his own liberal plan. He used the Republican plan.
Well, he's trying to get votes. That's how you can't just focus on one side. Isn't that where Trump?
If you want to get votes, you do Medicare for all.
And you think the people overwhelmingly would support that?
Over 60% of the population supports Medicare for all.
All right, then why don't we have it?
Well, let's see. You're locked up by corporate donations. You have corporatists on the Democrat side. You have fascists on the Republican side. Gee, I wonder why.
I don't know. You mentioned AOC. You do realize a candidate like AOC turns off a large portion of the voting constituent, even some liberals.
Turns off morons.
Huh?
She turns off morons.
What is AOC proposing that you believe is really good for America that most people could get behind?
Medicare for all, taxing the rich, Green New Deal, building housing. This country's 5 million houses short, which is an underestimate. Probably more than that, right? Housing the homeless. You know, all the things the Republicans don't want to do that would actually fix the country.
Yeah, but the stuff you're talking about could potentially fix the country at the expense of the wealthy. I mean, you're going to tax them more, and basically you're taking wealth from the top and forcibly giving it to the bottom.
They took it from us. Take it back. What the fuck are you talking about? They took it from us. Stock schemes, buybacks, letting their businesses go under while the CEOs get away with massive entitlements while the workers all suffer. They stole our money. Steal it back.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I get clarity on what you were saying. Okay, so it is indeed make this country better by taking forcibly the money from the wealthy because they took it from us.
There should be no billionaires in this world. Nobody is important enough. None of you, and you in chat too, all of you, none of you have a good enough idea to deserve to be a billionaire. None of you are that important. I'm not that important. You're not that important. None of you deserve that kind of wealth.
So let's assume during a pandemic, and I know this is not going to work well with some of my beloved MAGA, but let's assume during a pandemic, one scientist, through his own intelligence, was able to create a vaccine, and it's being obviously used around the world. You don't think that guy should be a billionaire?
It's happened already. It's called polio, and the dude gave it away for free. Next.
No, but I'm saying, what if he didn't want to give it away for free? You're saying he shouldn't be a billionaire?
But he did, though, right?
That ain't what I'm asking you, though. No. Wait a minute. We're talking fictional.
He shouldn't be a billionaire.
We're talking fictional. If someone creates an invention that the people in mass really need, you don't think they should be a billionaire?
Hell no. Why? For what?
Because
Why? What do you need all that money for? So you can screw everybody else over and nobody else gets anything?
Okay.
Why?
All right. So at the end of the day, you should be able to limit how much money they can make off of their own creation.
Yeah, correct. You should have worker ownership in all businesses. All workers should vote. The CEO should vote together on the direction of the business. And don't give me that crap about CEOs put in more risk than everybody else, because the employee puts in just as much risk in taking your silly ass job, because if they lose that job because of your shitty business decisions, now they can't feed their family either. So this whole idea that the CEO has more skin in the game is bullshit. And half of these businesses, when they go out, they don't suffer at all. They have insurance, they have backing to where if their business goes under, they don't even have to pay that shit back. And if you're a really big business, you get money instead of losing money. So it's all bullshit.
And you don't see none of this as being far left.
No, it's being a reasonable person. It only seems far left because we've been brainwashed by capitalists for the past 50 years to think that, oh, well, it was his idea. He has the most skin in the game. Well, guess what? If that dude's idea bombs and you're working for him, you're just as fucked as he is.
So should we get rid of capitalism? Because capitalism is about greed. It's about making money. You're putting all sorts of limitations.
You need a mix of both, right? You need a mix of both. It's okay for people to make money. There has to be a limit on how much you can have, right? Because if you don't have limits, then you end up where we are now. You know, nothing I'm saying is false. It's exactly what's led up to the point we're at now, right? You can tell me I'm wrong all you want, but it's history. It's written. It's what happened.
Okay. Well, when you say the point we are at right now, where America has all these billionaires floating around and have more money than they ever need, like you're pointing out, the quality of the average American is still better than it is in just about any other country on earth. So you say we're doing it wrong.
We're the richest country in the world. We're the richest country in the world. We have a massive homeless population compared to plenty of unindustrialized nations. We have the most people in prison out of any country in the world. We have one of the lowest education rates in the world considering how rich we are. America is drowning in stupidity. And people keep on going with it because, oh, well, the CEO, they got to get theirs, man, and fuck those workers, man. You can't have shit. Fuck the middle class, man. Well, okay. Keep on fucking the middle class. It will get worse. It won't get better because that's what's been happening for the past 50 years.
You're driving the comment section. Wow. Let me ask you this, because you mentioned us having more of a homeless issue. Now, homelessness, you know, you go to Somalia or Venezuela, there's a hell of a lot more homeless. But let me ask you this, because electromagnet energy, hell of a name, in the comments said those homeless made that choice. In other words, if you are about your wits, how do you become homeless in America? It's pretty easy not to be homeless in America. Would you not? I mean, how do you?
So
go ahead.
There are people in major cities right now with dual incomes who can't afford to buy a home and they're living in their car. And I'm talking people making $40,000 and $30,000 combined together who can't afford a home and living in their car because houses have become unaffordable. How is that their fucking fault, Chad?
Let me respond to that. First, when you say you're making dual incomes and you can't afford a house, so you're homeless, you don't need to live in a house to get off the street. Rent a room, rent a studio. You don't need a home to not be homeless.
And where do you do that in New York, sir?
You're telling me with two incomes, you can't rent a room in New York?
Right now.
You're telling me in New York.
There are specials on it. There are documentaries on it on YouTube and on Netflix. If you guys want to check it out, go for it. You literally have people in major cities where there's such a housing shortage and things are so expensive that you have dual income families who need to live in their car because they can't afford or find a place to live. It's happening. You don't need to believe me.
No, I'm not.
Documentaries all about it.
But Moo, I'm not saying that you're lying. But let's be clear. I don't make enough money to live in Beverly Hills, but I could go live in Watts. If you can't afford to live in New York City, why not just go somewhere else? You don't have to be homeless.
Well, okay, so if your car is your house, you're driving your house to work every day, right? And how far away from work are you?
That ain't what
How expensive is gas at this point? Can you afford to drive from, I don't know, the Bronx to Manhattan every day? Can you afford that kind of gas?
Let me clear it up. If I'm living in New York City and me and my spouse or partner together cannot afford rent there, we're not just going to leave New York City. We're going to find a job somewhere else. Maybe New York City is not the place for us. It's not economically advantageous to stay there. I'd go to Syracuse or Buffalo or some other local city.
You could end up trying to find a new job, but chances are you'll still get paid the same, or you may not find a job. It's very scary to give up a stable job, especially if you have children, right? It's not so easy, right? You need to actually find a job. You need to make sure it pays enough. I mean, it's not that simple. And you're talking about a dual income household. So now you're telling both people to uproot themselves and quit their jobs and go find a new job because we can't just build affordable housing for people. Why should it have to be they have to go get a new job? Why can't it be let's build some affordable housing that these people can get into? Because people who have a dual income household should be able to get a home, right? They shouldn't have to leave their job. They shouldn't have to go anywhere. They should be able to get a house. That's the American dream, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. All right, Moo. You always drive a hard bargain, man. It's always a pleasure having you on. I think you're a bit further left than I am, but you're always welcome anytime, man. Appreciate it. All right.
And love your show, man.
Absolute. Good talk. Looking in the comments, Mo is a little bit left of yours truly, but I lean left. So it's not like I despise what he's saying at all. I don't know if it's possible in a money-hungry nation like America, certainly when the wealthy is in control of every damn thing. You start telling the wealthy what they can and cannot do when they're the ones that run the country, you're going to have a hell of a pushback. But yeah! Lion Corners, certainly appreciate that hat and mustache. Thank you very much. He's not wrong, says Aaron Michael. I will say this. Now, I used to be a landlord some years ago before the housing crash in the city of Chicago. I owned a few properties, had about 20 tenants. And I'll tell you this, I obviously wasn't anywhere near a damn billionaire, but I will tell you this, the more money you start making, the more people that think you should share your money and start telling you what to do with it. That's one of the problems I assume the wealthy is facing, because I was making a little money. I was doing all right. Well, you should give this to your cousin, or you should give this to your... Like, what the hell are you telling me what to do with my money? So it does present that type of a problem. And certainly when we talk about my last caller, there should be a limit on how much you can earn. You don't need any more money. All right, well, if I don't need any more money, I'm going to shut down my company that's creating these gadgets because I'm not going to make any more money from it. No, you need to keep the company open. No, you don't think I need to make any more money? Then I don't need to work anymore. Then it becomes an issue. So I don't know if you could ever implement something like that in the United States. But it was a good conversation. Going back to the box, you're either MAGA or you're a Democrat. That's what I heard. I want to run it by the folks. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000. There's about 800 of you folks in here. Always a pleasure having you on. I'm MAGA, says Electromagnetic Energy. I'd love to speak to some MAGA. We'll keep it going with Keith in Nashville. I always love Nashville. Got that skyscraper with the two antennas. Always love coming in that city. Keith, can you hear me? Yeah, you had a loud background.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're either MAGA or a liberal. Do you believe that?
Well, I believe the polls reflect that. Surely, I mean the numbers don't lie.
What about among Trump supporters? Do they actually recognize traditional Republicans?
I think the water's a little muddy, because of all that. Their main concern is Trump going to navigate through all this to fruition and what they want to turn out to be. It's so disjointed, and you don't know really what the outcome's going to be because there's different court systems, different states, operations. The water's so murky. People can't make heads or tails of it. They're hoping for the best. They're wishing for the best, but it's at this point it's unknown. We're kind of in a state of unknown. Putting our best foot forward and keeping the faith, and support of it.
Do you?
That's a real honest thing.
If Trump was to win, do you believe he could unify the party? What happened? I don't know. All right. Well, I don't know what just happened there, but we'll keep it moving. I see some of you folks say you can't hear me, but hopefully you can hear me now. I don't know what just happened. I'm neither MAGA nor am I a Democrat. I'm a moderate Republican. MAGA people would call me a rhino. And that's the question we're asking. I love the name Just a Man. I like that. I'm an infallible, I'm a flawed human being. I like that. But in regards to that comment, I'm not MAGA. I'm not a Democrat. They call me a rhino. Can you be a traditional Republican? Certainly. What about if you're a traditional Republican, but you don't favor the direction Trump is leading the country in? Can you still get respect of MAGA? Will MAGA tolerate someone who maybe don't, there's a lot of Democrats that do not favor Biden. You don't hear Democrats chastising other Democrats that suggest that Biden's too old, or maybe they do believe in Hunter Biden's flaws and they blame his dad, 10% for the big guy, whatever the case may be. You don't see Democrats being so critical of other liberals, like Moo, the tuxedo cat that was just talking to before my last caller. We talked, he's not a big Biden fan. In fact, he called Biden a Republican. However, with him supporting AOC and the likes of folks that are further to the left than Biden, you wouldn't imagine Democrats calling him a dino, Democrat name only, or anything like that. So when it comes to Republicans, when it comes to MAGA, is it possible for MAGA to accept someone who is a genuine Republican that just simply does not favor President Trump? Can they acknowledge that person without calling them a rhino? That's what we're asking. We'll keep it moving. Susie, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Why can't people just wake up and understand they are dividing us? Who are they? Define they. Susie, good afternoon.
Hey, Tim, how's it going?
It's going good. We're going good. I had someone tell me earlier on the platform, Trump supporter, that you're either MAGA or you're a Democrat. Do you see any validity to that statement?
I see validity in that in the Republican. Absolutely. Absolutely.
No room for a traditional Republican, Romney, McCain types, Mitch McConnell, Mike Pence. What are they?
Apparently, according to the Republicans, they're rhinos.
What defines a rhino?
In current environment, anybody that's not towing Trump's line.
That's it. All you have to do is, no matter what you've done in your entire political career, simply because you're not a fan of Trump, you instantly become a rhino?
That's what I see from that side. Now, that's not my opinion, but it's my opinion that it's their opinion.
Damn. So...
But I got a question for you.
Sure.
What if we are all doing this all wrong? And voting is not at all about making sure that we vote our party or whatever, because our elected officials not supposed to work for all of their constituents.
True.
So if we left-leaners only vote left, are we not hoping to build a dictatorship?
No, because I don't believe we're hoping to build a dictatorship for the simple fact that even though we're going to vote left, if the right wins, we're going to acknowledge we lost.
And well, so that is the current environment where unfortunately we're caught in a trap, So are we gonna, chew our foot off so that we can get out of that trap, or what are we gonna do? But I think that, in my opinion, Americans, we have been doing this whole voting thing wrong for generations.
Explain.
I personally vote a purple ticket because everybody that I vote for is supposed to represent me.
Who leads give me some politics, who leads some of these tickets on a national level in the 2020 election, for instance? Who did you vote for if you're talking about a purple ticket?
That was 3 years ago, Tim.
You don't remember who you voted for in the last presidential election?
I like to, so I vote more locally because, that happens more often, and I have easier access to those representatives.
But do you vote in national elections at all?
Oh, absolutely.
20. Okay, so 2020, who did you vote for?
I voted for Biden.
2016.
2016, I had a write-in, and I know some people are going to laugh at that. I'm a born-again Christian. I wrote Jesus Christ because I didn't see either candidate actually.
Right. So,
Yeah.
2024 national ticket. Who do you foresee yourself voting for in 2024?
You know what? I'm stuck, and that's my problem. So I'm having to do some research and figure out where I know that I definitely do not want Trump. And I do question Biden's ability. You know, and it bothers me because usually you do equate, or at least I do, I equate age with wisdom. But I personally do see a little bit of that age decline.
Yeah, but if you're saying that Biden is a bit old, you realize Jesus Christ got a few years on him, and you voted for him.
Right, but see, Jesus Christ was not showing, at least in you know, from my recollections.
Well, he ain't showing up at all. I haven't seen any Jesus Christ rallies, so he ain't showing up at all. I would love to go to a Jesus Christ rally to see him speak.
Well, as a born again, Jesus is always in charge. So that's where I was going with that.
You think Jesus would close the border?
No, I don't.
How do you think he would do about tuition forgiveness? What do you think Jesus would do?
I honestly think that there wouldn't be tuition. I think he would get rid of tuition.
I got an even bigger question. Would Jesus stand with Israel?
Oh, I don't think that he would stand with any war. Now, I have to let you know that I'm still a relatively new born again, so I'm not well versed in the life and time of Jesus either. But
Right.
I know that I can tell you that the more I invest in my faith, the more liberal I become, which of course baffles all of my conservative friends.
Yeah,
you know,
it does.
Well, I call them friends, but they don't. Anyway,
So I mean,
you know, unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of hate and derision from the conservatives in my circle of influence. So.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't see you're mentioning Biden being you're obviously you're never Trumper. You don't want Trump, even though Biden is of age and he's aging, you know, significantly. What about the performance though? Even though he's an old man and you don't know if he's, you know, he's totally there from the age. How do you judge his performance? He's been in office 3 years now. Do you think he's done a good job?
I do. You know, there's always room for improvement no matter who's in office. You know, that you're not going to get somebody that can run a country, especially a country that is, you know, so polarized in their ideas. You're not going to find a politician, a president that's going to be able to run it.
So is it safe to say that if Biden was 10 or 15 years younger, he would for certain have your vote?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. So you're being an ageist then. You're being an ageist.
I don't see it that way. I see it that if there's somebody that is losing their ability to perform a task, no matter what the task, no matter who the person, if you are losing the ability to
but he's doing a good job. You're saying he's losing his ability while bragging about how great of a job he's doing.
Right. And decline can happen, and I'd rather not have to see that happen. And I could absolutely be wrong. There could be no decline, no hiccups created.
Well, let me present. Roderick in the comments is suggesting I ask you, what do you see from Biden that leads you to believe he's in decline? You've stated he's doing a really good job. So what's making you believe he's in decline?
I have seen some observed and heard some slowing in his speech, and I know that he's got the speech impediment and whatnot. And there have been some gaffes, of course. I'm actually working as I'm speaking with you, so trying to
So am I.
here. Right.
So am I.
So I can't specifically recall any particular things, but Trump gaffes all the time as well. So it's just
so. I guess the question I'm asking is, like in the comments, for instance, Frank Lumia said anyone that's seen dementia knows. Do you see Biden as someone who's potentially showing or exhibiting signs of early stages of dementia?
My experience with dementia, no, just the typical signs of aging. And, not everybody goes through that.
Right.
But I don't consider it dementia or...
Is it possible that Biden could be an old man that we're looking... In other words, if he was 50, we wouldn't be looking for dementia. We would credit it as, yeah, thank you, Diane. If Biden was 50, we wouldn't be trying to find dementia or some problem in it. Is he literally a solution waiting for the problem where we're just looking at him because he's old and we expect to see problems? So any mistake he makes, we attribute it to a problem because, he's old enough, he should have this wrong with him.
That would not be my opinion or perspective, but I can see where other people might, because, I think that we live in a society where everybody wants an answer.
Right.
So I actually call it the John Coffey effect. John Coffey was guilty just because he fit, the rule of thumb for the time frame. But then the actual problems get away with murder because, there's an answer.
Yeah.
So I think that no matter what is being argued about in current society, if somebody can put a finger on an answer that makes sense to them.
And that's what I was alluding to. But I want to ask you this last question before I move it on, because a few folks in the comments, Keith and Nashville, ask her about Biden paying for rent. Because you mentioned that you believe Biden has done a good job.
Yep.
1970 in the comments says, Biden has done what for the American people? When you say Biden has done a good job, elaborate. What leads you to believe Biden as president has been beneficial to America?
Well, I think the infrastructure and the chips, and I believe that he is working hard at trying to find a unity in the country. I believe that
is he doing well at that?
That's debatable, but it's also debatable as to why it's debatable.
Right.
Like, there's so many obstacles, but just like when Trump was in office, we were constantly in his way.
Let me interrupt you real quick, because I saw this. Sometimes I see funny comments in Angle Fan Gaming, because, I'm drilling you on a few questions, and his response was, Tim, that was pathetic. You were too soft in her. That should be on, okay? That should be on. Otherwise, you're criticizing it, hurting my ego. I was too soft in her. Change your spelling. All right, go ahead, Susie.
Thanks for sharing that gap with me.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, Susie, I gotta move it on. I'll try not to be so soft in you next time. My apologies. Come on back anytime. Wow.
Appreciate you too. Bye.
Absolute. All right, looking in the comments. My ego is bruised on this lunch break live. It's been a long time since somebody told me I was too soft on the inside. All right, looking in the comments. Trump is a white racist, and he allows racists to say what they want. That's why they want him. Yikes. I would obviously implore you to state what makes you suggest that Trump is a white racist. Wow. That changed the mood. Looking in the comments, but wouldn't the MAGA people be the actual rhinos? The traditional Republicans were here first. Just a man. I refer to that comment as a home run. I've said it many times on many broadcasts. President Trump has a lot in common with presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. Sounds crazy, I know. But Trump has a lot in common with Bernie Sanders. Fact is, both Trump and Bernie Sanders ran under the parties that they ran under respectively to get access to the coffers of those parties. You need a lot of money to run as for president. Bernie Sanders ran as a Democrat to get access to the DNC funds, and the DNC denied him, which is what he still complains about today. Trump didn't get denied. Trump got access to the RNC funds, and he ended up becoming victorious. But just like Bernie Sanders, President Trump has a lot of pushback from traditional Republicans because he's not one of them. Even folks who support Trump says he's not a traditional politician. He's not an insider. He is a rhino. Bernie Sanders would be considered the same thing, but the Democrats do not have a word for rhino. But Bernie Sanders is not a traditional Democrat, which is why Bernie Sanders has a lot of flack from traditional Democrats, the same way Trump does from traditional rhinos. And I strongly believe if Bernie Sanders had have won the presidency, he would have divided the Democratic Party the same way Trump is dividing the Republican Party. Because Trump is essentially trying to change the Republican Party to a party of his own, which is the entire topic of the show. You're either MAGA or you're a Democrat. Just completely erased Republicans out of the picture. And that's what Bernie Sanders would have done. You're either a socialist or you're a Republican. He would have eradicated them. And that's why when folks suggest that anyone that does not side with Trump is a rhino, that commenter is correct in suggesting that in reality, Trump is the rhino. If you really want to look at the defined term, Trump is the outsider, which MAGA admits, but they're calling all the insiders rhinos now. That's inaccurate. Trump really is the rhino. But folks are like, either you ride with MAGA or you're on the opposing side. But yeah, technically Trump is the rhino. Anyhow, folks, you know what we do about this time. I do appreciate the 61,000 likes. This always will be a MAGA friendly show. MAGA are always my preferred guest. Real quick, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host blocking, banning, or censoring you, follow the program. You're in the right place. We're here Monday through Friday. Nevertheless, this is indeed a lunch break live. I got to go back to work for the man. Appreciate you folks tuning in. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Got to go. Appreciate you folks on YouTube that were tuned in.